So, how pretty is this? So what I ended up doing with the twisties, because they were sparkly and pretty, is just rolling them over. If you didn't want them to show, you can cut them off and tuck them. What I wanted to show you, if I can, is kind of the difference between the fluffiness of the two wreaths. And this is probably not the best example to use because I used a double curl and some of this ribbon is super thick, but I used a double curl and it just really adds bulk. I think this is 40 inches, and as you see, some of this ribbon is really, really thick. I need to trim that, or pull it off. So instead of judging by this, we need to create our own wreath. So let me show you what I plan to do. Sorry guys about all the movement. Professional YouTuber here. And you will need to sweep when you finish because you will have little pieces of the mesh everywhere. But, wow, that's crooked. All right, so I still have, scooch this over a little bit, plenty of ribbon left. So I want to make a big bow. And by big bow, I mean, I'm probably going to do a 4-loop bow since I only have 2 colors. It'll be stripe star, or a variation of that. Here are the flip-flops I want to use. So I'm thinking that I want to wire them to the actual wreath at the bottom. They're not heavy enough to flap forward, I don't think, and they could be kind of tucked in. And I think they're just super cute. If I wanted to, because evidently I can't count to 8, I could put, and I may, a piece of extra ribbon that I already cut, and I won't throw it away. I'm not sure how this is gonna look, but it might look super cute, and I think it does look super cute. So kind of spice up the flip-flops a little bit. So what I find when you're making your own wreath without a kit, and I've made wreaths without kits. I like the kits the best, but that's not an option anymore. It takes me longer. And, you know, I'm not always sure, does it look right? Is it right? But then when you end up with something like, can I do this correctly? This to put in your wreath, and it was free out of your closet. The ribbon wasn't free. You know, it makes me really happy. So I've shown before how to make ribbons, but I think I'm going to show you this one because it's going to be kind of large. I am going to be using the Deluxe Bow Maker. Now, let me just tell you ahead of time, there's a new one out that's like way more complicated. This works fine for me. A lot of people make their bows simply by putting it in their hand, make a loop, twist, make a loop, twist, take another color. I'm not that dexterous, so I bought the bow maker. I've had it for a number of years. It's what I've always used, and it works fine for me. It just kind of gives you an extra 2 hands. So let me kind of red this up here and get the bow maker turned the right way. It has 1 spool for your yarn. Yeah. Can you guys tell that I get tired in the afternoons? 1 spool for your ribbon. And then these 2 hold it down in so that you can twist it and it will stay twisted. And then you can put a zip tie underneath. I always use zip ties and my ribbons don't come apart. And one of the other things I wanted to mention, guys, one of the reasons I like to not cut off the twist ties that are on the wreath is, especially now that I know I can't get these exact wreaths anymore that I like so much, is you can untwist them, take your wreath apart, and make something new. When you get tired of it, your styles change. There's something new you want to make. So that kind of gives you a benefit down the road. Even though you will lose the materials out of the first wreath, at least you're not, you know, spending money. And I've got enough wreaths for kind of the universe right now. All right, let me get set up here and we'll make us a bow. I always laugh on videos where it's like the whole day and I'm filming because my appearance deteriorates as the day goes on, so I'm a little frizzy. My neighbor actually took a really bad fall on Thursday and drove straight here. I'm kind of, which makes me feel really good, I'm kind of the community nurse for emergencies, and so I had to send her off to the ER for some stitches in her knee. Well, she called and said, my knee doesn't look good. Well, the bandages they had given her were allowing no air, so there's a pretty big scrape plus the stitch line plus the split, and it was too wet. So, you know, putting Neosporin ointment on it and then perspiring and that being sealed up tight was not good. So I put a gauze bandage on it. Thankfully, I keep and purchase supplies to have. It's just a good idea. And I'm kind of notorious for hurting myself. But anyway, let's get back to our read. But I would rather do that any time of the day or night. Guys, I miss my nursing career. All right. I still have an active license, by the way. So one of the things I really liked about this roll is it has a pin to help you keep it tight. So we're gonna plop this on here and I'm gonna walk you through how I'm going to make it. So the very first thing I'm gonna do is, this is a pretty wide wreath from here to here. It's not as foofy, but it's still in diameter pretty large. So I am going to make, first of all, tails, and I'm gonna do the tails, if you line this up, 8, 9, 10, 11, I'm gonna do a 1 foot tail, and I'm using the lines, the grid lines on my self-healing mat. And then this is a one-sided ribbon. So that can be an issue. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go ahead and cut that. And y'all, you can use, I already forget where the line was. You can use scissors. It hurts your scissors. I prefer the rotary cutter and changing out the blades. It's more designed for those wired ribbons. So, yeah, I didn't get that very even. Now, you can continue on with this without breaking it. I went ahead and broke it just because I think if the first ribbon, which is your tails, is one piece, it's a lot easier to get it to lay flat. Go figure. So, I'm gonna switch over to the blue. Now here comes the tricky part. So, I want my loop, let me think this through. To be 8 inches, okay? That's a pretty good size loop. And then when you go back through, you're gonna have to twist it because again, this is a one-sided print. Pull it up. And then you're gonna do the same thing here to make it 8 inches. Make sure the twist holds and pull this tightly. All right, next, without cutting this, I'm gonna go for a red. And I'm gonna do the red the same length, just leaving a tail. So I have to turn it so that it's gonna come up right side up. So basically you're just gonna work back and forth all the way up with your loops. I'm going to do an 8, a 6, a 4, and a 2. Sometimes a 2 is kind of small and I'll sneak and do a 3. But yeah, this does make for a nice poofy bow. All right. Now I left the blue on. You could have certainly cut it, but it's just a little easier in my estimation not to. So we're gonna do a 6 in the blue and twist it. And you want to keep pushing it down tightly, and I still have my whatchamajigger around here. You know, that whatchamajigger thing. All right, pull up our red. And we will do a 6. And you got to kind of wrestle with it a little bit. If it gets too challenging, which is starting to get too bulky in the middle, you can locate your scissors. That one's short. I shortened that one up by accident. You can just go ahead and cut. And that's what I'm going to do, just because I'm starting to have a little bit of difficulty keeping these from not being so twisted. All right. So same thing here. We will do a 6-inch. And you want to try to not let this thing unravel like I just did. This might be making too long of a video, guys, but I'm so thrilled that I can even do videos, that I haven't minded them being so long. What I wanted to share with you while I'm doing this is I've been watching some J. Morrell Stewart. She's one of my favorite YouTubers to watch. You know, everybody has their own taste and, you know, their own cup of tea. I'm certainly not very many people's cup of tea. But I was watching before everything happened in her life, and I don't need to talk about that, where her marital status changed, and, you know, she's got 9 children, and I think only one of which doesn't live at home now. She's got a lot going on. Okay, this will be the 4. But I was looking back when she decided, and this was right before the crisis hit, and I'll just call it a crisis. You know, I certainly wouldn't want everybody discussing my life. I've certainly made plenty of mistakes, and hopefully will not continue to do so. But at any rate, she was talking about giving up big box grocery stores, and I kind of had an epiphany over there on the couch, because I take breaks, guys. And if you notice, I'm not as short of breath. Thank you, Jesus. Literally, I'm not being facetious, because it is so hot. I don't know why I'm so short breath today, but I am. Probably because it's so hot. You know, guys, I just think it's easier to cut these each time. They'll be cinched up, so it'll be fine. Push this back down where it belongs. Anyway, you know, folks, as I'm starting to feel better, and even though probably in, I don't know if it'll be the end of August, 1st of September, I have a feeling it'll be the 1st of September, I will start my 1 year of immunotherapy, which, you know, means the port will stay in, I will go to the hospital. I believe at this point the drug that we've agreed on is, unfortunately, every 3 weeks, but, you know, at least it's not every week like I've been dealing with. Okay, this is the 2-inch, guys, and I am gonna just kind of eyeball it. It's a little bit easier that way. And then one of the things I like to do with the top is go ahead and make that same tail. And you have to cut it to make the second tail. But these are not going to show once you're done fluffing. People won't know that you've cut the ribbon 18 times. Okay, there we go. Now what? Well, you want to try to pull up a little bit from the bottom because we've been pressing. You want to go ahead and start locking your zip tie. It's so handy to have it right there. Go ahead and pull it off. And then you see you've got a big dent right here. Slide this up into the big dent so it'll be centered and pull it to the back. So to the big loops. Now comes the fussy part. Sometimes your loops won't be even. Imagine that. And you have to fuss at it a little bit. But the idea is if you twist them, it's called breaking the bow. You kind of make it unremember its position, and it's a little easier to fluff the bow. So I'm gonna stand here and fluff my bow in all the different directions. And then I will bring you back. We'll decide where we're gonna place the bow, how we're gonna attach. I need to quit pulling that so tight. How we are going to attach the flip-flops. Oh yeah, this is gonna be super pretty. All right, so we'll see you shortly. All right, so after much fussing, I've decided the flip-flops go to the side and the bow, which is under my elbow, will get wired to the bottom. How I like to do that, and I probably should have fed this through before I pulled it completely tight, but you can just take, oh, I didn't notice that was twisted. You can just take a chenille stem or a pipe cleaner and feed it underneath there, and I think I still can. I may have to squish it a little bit. Hence is why you end up fluffing your bow 1,000 times. I don't think I can loosen that at all. Well, let me fuss with this. I'll wire the bow to the actual metal part of the frame, and then we'll come back and place the flip-flops. So our beautiful bow, I kind of curled up just around my finger, our long ties, our 1-foot ties. And so now over this direction, I'm gonna place the flip-flops. Now, what I've kind of decided to do, and this is just off the top of my head, this is a punch that I use for my metal signs. I'm quite sure it fits the thickness of the flip-flop that my great nephew calls whoop wops. Close, buddy. He's old enough now, he doesn't call them that. Then I have some wire. I think I'm gonna try to just do a thin wire through it. I'll never wear these flip-flops. So I thought this was a good use rather than to just throw them away. They have a little fading, but they're not filthy dirty. I did wash these in case you're wondering. And I use spray and wash and a, like a magic eraser type sponge. That's how I clean my shoes. That works really well for me. Works really well for gym shoes too, or tennis shoes. So yeah, I am gonna overlap these so that I just have one wire going through both. And I'm gonna try poking the wire through without punching the hole, just because that might work better. This is just a florist wire, by the way. It's a pretty fine gauge, so I'm hoping that it works. And I did manage to feed that chenille stem, pipe cleaner, whatever you wanna call it. So let's just see, guys. Well, it goes right through. Okay, so maybe, except now it's sticking on the back. It's not wanting to go through the back. So let me fuss with these and get them wired together. Grab some needle nose to pull it through. I've got it kind of through. The sole is a little bit thicker than this because it's textured. But let me get these wired up and put on the wreath, and we'll give you some final thoughts. All right, y'all, let me just show you. You can see the green wire. and it comes out the back here, which this is what I will tie around. Let me give you a tip. My favorite tool in the toolbox. I had gotten these from my mom because they were pink, and so when she passed away, I gave my sister the toolbox because she didn't have one, because it was like girly tools, right? But I found these later on in the drawer because my mom used them for everything to open, bless her heart. So I'm gonna place these between two like this. So let me fuss at it. And then when I bring you back, we'll be all finished, and I will just give you some closing thoughts. We'll hang the wreath up, and you can admire my handiwork. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, I get paid in odd ways for my services. I got paid a cantaloupe, and cantaloupe is my favorite fruit. So they will oftentimes go to the grocery. They go every Wednesday, and they pick up for like shut-ins and invalids. And I was like, can you get me a cantaloupe? Because with a white count of 3, I'm not in the stores, right? And I didn't want to place a grocery order for a cantaloupe. It would cost more for delivery if you don't meet the minimum. So anyway, that was very sweet of them too. She goes, hold on. And she comes back with a cantaloupe. And I'm like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, like a country doctor. I get paid in fruit and vegetables sometimes, but that's okay with me. All right, let me get these wired on and we'll have some final thoughts. All right, y'all, we're finally finished. So when I tried to hang up the wreath, the flip-flops went like this. So I actually had to do a second wiring around the frame, but it's nice and sturdy. It's not going anywhere. Y'all, I just think this thing is super cute. You know, I used some things that I had, kind of created this out of my mind. My plan for this is not to leave it here, sadly. I'm gonna put it on my front door when I redo my porch. I do have some things I'd like to put up, but while we're in this terrible air quality and it's 90, oh, it's only 89 degrees now. 93 for a high today. So while we're in this heat and humidity wave, I won't be doing decorating. Sorry guys, hiccups, what you know. But I think for a very few hours of work, it took me a while because I kept getting interrupted and had to leave and come back. I think this is just lovely. Excuse me. Drop me a comment below. Would you be interested in seeing other wreaths, other crafts? I have a couple ideas. And y'all, when I can't do my garden because I don't have one, it's kind of nice to have some other things that I can present and not just give you health updates. Because even I'm tired of giving health updates, so I'm sure you're tired of listening to them. So I hope you have a lovely evening and afternoon or morning or wherever it is, wherever you are. But in the meantime, don't forget to smash that like button as you go out if you haven't already. Guys, it really helps the algorithm. My channel is so far down because I didn't film very much for a while. And I'm still not as regular like my Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule because I'm not able, you know. I'm spending too much time with my 9 appointments a week. But at any rate, I hope you all are well, healthy, and blessed, and stay that way. So I will see you again very soon. All right, y'all take care.